Councillors, can I have your attention, please? I welcome you all to this meeting of the Cardinia Shire Council. This meeting started earlier in the day to consider a confidential matter, and I now reconvene the meeting. We will commence the meeting with the following reflection. I would ask those gathered to join us now for a few moments of silence as we reflect on our roles in this chamber. Please use this opportunity for reflection, prayer or thought to focus on our shared intention to work respectfully together for the well-being of our whole community. Cardinia Shire Council respectfully acknowledges that we are on the traditional land of the Bunurong and Wurundjeri people and pay our respects to the elders past, present and emerging. I note we have no apologies for this evening. Minutes of the previous meetings. Can I have a motion, please, to adopt the minutes of the previous meetings as listed? Councillor Ryan, seconded by Councillor Radford. All councillors in favour, please raise your hand. Thank you. I declare that carried. And that's all sorted. Councillors, do I have any declarations of interest to declare? There being none, we will move along to ordinary business. The Council conducts its meetings according to a consent agenda. Councillors have advised of the matters for consideration this evening that they wish to discuss or debate. The remaining items will be adopted without discussion. The items withdrawn for tonight's proceedings are as follows. Item 6.2.1, Climate Change Adaptation Strategy, withdrawn by Councillor Kowalczyk. Councillor Kowalczyk to move.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that Council adopt the Climate Change Adaptation Strategy as presented in the report.
Thank you, Councillor Kowalczyk. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Ross. Councillor Kowalczyk, if you'd like to speak to this item first.
Thank you, Mayor Springfield, and thank you, Councillor Ross, for your second. As a result of community sentiment and scientific consensus, Council declared a climate emergency in September 2019. The declaration made the important commitment of emphasising climate change adaptation and mitigation actions as key priorities in the Council plan. Development of this strategy to address and mitigate the climate change impacts and risks to Cardinia Shire is a significant action to meet this commitment. The Climate Change Adaptation Strategy outlines the local impacts of climate change and how Cardinia Shire will work towards increasing resilience and adaptive capacity to the most urgent impacts. Building on previous initiatives and actions undertaken by Council, this strategy will direct climate change adaptation planning and actions in the Shire over the next 10 years. The strategy has at its heart an ethos that the best and most cost-effective approach for climate change adaptation is embedding relevant actions into Council's existing service delivery. It includes a 10-year costed action plan that will enable Council to manage identified risks and provides the opportunity for co-benefits. The action plan focuses on addressing the most urgent climate change risks to Council's business continuity and the Cardinia Shire community. This strategy aims to enable our people, businesses, infrastructure and environment to cope with an increasingly variable climate. The addition of a Climate Resilience Officer role will support the implementation of the actions that are outlined in the report. I want to thank the Council officers involved with creating this strategy, as well as the community for taking an active part in reviewing and providing feedback during the consultation period. I received a number of calls from passionate residents asking what effect their responses would have. The primary result of that is the Community Priority Actions, Table 1 in the report, which shows what actions will be rolled out as short, medium and long-term goals. Thank you, Mayor. I'll leave it at that for now.
Thank you, Councillor Kowalczyk. I'll now go to the seconder, Councillor Ross, to speak to this item.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Kowalczyk. Thank you, Councillor Kowalczyk, leaving a little bit of information that I can add. Sometimes we get passionate about things and share the whole lot. Anyway, look, to come to this action plan, there was a community engagement process that Council went through which took 6 weeks between February and March this year. There was the council staff took it up to Emerald and also into Pakenham in relation to in-person opportunities for people to come forward and share their idea on what council should be doing in this space. There was also an online capacity for people to send in responses as well. There were 26 responses received following action priorities towards our 10-year action plan. And in these, we had short-term time frameworks around 1 to 4 years, and there were 43% of people believed an increased community awareness and preparedness to natural hazards. There was also for gardens, for wildlife and development of an urban forest strategy. 39% of people put that up as something that they found they wanted to have included. We had a medium term, next 5 to 6 years, community priority action, and 46% of people said we should develop a resilience agricultural program, and 43% said inform community on high-risk areas for development. And last of all, there was a longer-term framework that was talked about for an opportunity for people to share what they would like to see council do in this space for the next 6 to 10 years. And they said they would like council to encourage the development of a coastal management plan for private land, and 77% of people had that as one of their priorities. I think this is a really diligent action that council takes, and I think it's really important that we do invest in this area, and for the future generations that we be seen as leaders within the community about taking action and doing something meaningful within inside our powers that we can do. Anyway, I thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Would any other councillors like to speak to this item? Before I go back to the mover, I'll just make a couple of mention. And again, I'm fully supportive of this adaptation strategy and commend the officers' work in putting the effort behind it to develop it. I'm just going to read quickly the very first paragraph because I think it summarises it so well. The Climate Change Adaptation Strategy 22-20-33 provides a strategic and planned approach to increasing the resilience of Cardinia Shire to the adverse impacts of climate change. Adaptation aims to empower people, businesses, infrastructure, the health system and environment to cope with an increasingly variable and changing climate. Given the potential broad-ranging impacts of climate change in the Shire, adaptation is essential to minimising future climate-related risks to the community and the council. And, that paragraph there just really summarises it, and, and I don't think anyone can really argue against it. So I'm really glad that as a council we're on the front foot of this, and very happy to hear the supportive words from my councillor colleagues tonight, so thank you. I'll now go back to Councillor Kowalczyk to summarise. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for your comments, and also Councillor Ross, thank you for your second and your comments. Cardinia Shire residents know all too well the impacts of climate-related natural disasters. The actions that local government take in this space can have a significant impact, not only locally, but also the flow-on can spark ideas and create change in other municipalities. All levels of government have a responsibility to provide leadership in responding to climate change, and we are a part of that. The Department of Climate Change, Energy, the Environment and Water outlines what role each level of government should take, and it states that local government must ensure that local circumstances are considered in the overall adaptation response, local communities are directly involved in efforts to facilitate effective change, we must play a central role in land use planning and managing local roads, and inform other levels of government about the on-the-ground needs of local and regional communities. Now, our new climate change adaptation strategy, in conjunction with existing council plans and policies, provides that and responds to that. And this will be used as a guiding document over the next 10 years as to how we prepare to manage the profound impacts of climate change on our community. I hope my fellow councillors support this with their vote tonight. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kowalczyk. I'll now put this to a vote. All councillors in favour, please raise your hands. I declare that carried. Thank you. Moving along to item 6.2.3, Special Charge Scheme, Red Boyd Catchment, withdrawn by Councillor Owen. Councillor Owen to move.
Thank you, Mayor. I move the officers' recommendations. Thanks.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Ross. I'll now go back to Councillor Owen to speak to this item first.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks, Councillor Ross. I spared councillors me reading out all of those recommendations line by line, so I just want to move those. This report proposes to have a special charge declared to part fund the construction of Red Road, Boyd Road, Ramage Lane, Ritchie Street and Williamson Road, Gembrook. It follows Council's resolution on the 16th of May this year to communicate its intention to declare a special charge for this purpose. This special charge scheme straddles two wards, my ward, Beacon Hills ward, and also the Mayor's ward, Rangers ward, and it's really great that this project is continuing. So this scheme, a recent survey of the property owners in the indicated roads in this catchment indicated 87.5% property owner support to contributing to a scheme from the responses received. That's a great result. Included property owners will receive a special benefit as a result of the works, including improved resident amenity, reduction in dust and associated health issues, improved drainage, less wear and tear on vehicles, reduced road maintenance costs and overall improved livability. The preliminary estimated cost of the proposed works is $5.86 million, of which $444,500 is proposed to be funded via the proposed special charge scheme contribution received from the included property owners. So this will leave an approximate balance of $5.4 million to be funded from the Australian Government grant, and we thank the Australian Government for its continued support for this program. Property owners' contributions have been assessed based on the benefit gained by each existing developed or vacant allotment, capped at $7,000 per benefit unit. So as I said before, 67 surveys went out. Council received 24 responses. 21 of those supported the scheme, 3 didn't. So therefore, majority of those received responses are supporting the program. So I'll leave it there, and I'll give my seconder to have a chat. Thanks. Talk to the item. Sorry.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. Councillor Ross, if you'd like to speak to this item.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Owen, for raising this issue. I must say, special charge schemes, without them in Cardinia Shire, we wouldn't have as many roads as we have now. And it's people in the community taking ownership and a commitment towards improving the infrastructure. It's wonderful that the federal government have put in previous and present to continue funding the $150 million grant for the roads scheme in the hills. Anyone who drives through the hills will know that you only need one good rain or people travelling up and down too fast and rutting the road up, and that happens really, really quickly. And you only need some big rain as well to go across the roads, and it creates crevices across the middle of the roads as well. This will improve the amenity of the area so much in the hills, and will help even people where their own roads aren't sealed, because they're probably not as integrated into the system, but they'll benefit because most of the roads they'll drive on to get out of the area will be sealed, which will help. And as was pointed out by Councillor Owen, the dust suppression with sealing a road rather than having dust blowing all the time and those sort of things is really, really important to those people in those areas. It's wonderful that we are a council who is committed to special charge schemes, that we do prioritise this in our budget every year. I know the Mayor has brought this up in the past when the temptation's always been to look at how much we spend on this area, that we do commit to this area. And as long as we get the community in that area committing to it as well, we will continue to support them and support the scheme, and that will allow us to do more things with the money and stretch it further. Anyway, I hope my fellow councillors support this, and I look forward to seeing the result and hearing back from the ward councillors once it's done on the improvement in the area. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Would any other councillors like to speak to this item? They're being done. Just a few quick words to say that, again, I'm very supportive of these process rolling forward for the Sealing the Hills program. It's great to see that every council meeting there's another couple of more roads generally come up. for declaration. So it's great to see these roll out. And I will note that during this summer period, we're going to see more of them built and constructed. And that's what the community really wants to see is us getting, it's a process to get there for any one of these schemes. But yeah, really happy to see that we're continuing this, and can't wait to see at the end of summer once a couple more have been built. So great work. Thank you very much, councillors. I'll go back to the mover who, if they'd like to summarise. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks, Councillor Ross, for your chats. Thank you. That's appreciated. I just wanted to, in summary, this scheme will see a further 3.3 kilometres of road sealed in the hills. And these streets, these roads are very close to the centre of Gembrook, I think less than a K away. So it's really great to see these central roads sealed. So residents were invited to participate in online community consultation events, provide feedback and view plans via Council's Creating Cardinia page. And as I said previously, there's strong support for this scheme. Strong community support was obtained for this project, with 85% of respondents supporting the scheme. Obviously, we talked about the benefits of such sealing, amenity, reduction in dust, associated health issues, improved drainage, less wear and tear on resident vehicles. That's really important. So works are scheduled to commence in 2023, subject to council receiving the required approvals, and obviously we'll be going out to tender very soon on this. I encourage residents to continue to monitor what council's doing regarding the sealing the roads and the special charge schemes. I'll refer residents to council's website, the Better Local Roads part of our website. So thank you, councillors. I move so.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. I will now put this to a vote. All councillors in favour, please raise your hand. I declare the item carried. Thank you. Moving along to item 6.2.4, the 2022-2023 Community Capital Works Grants, withdrawn by Councillor Kowalczyk. Councillor Kowalczyk to move.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor. I move that Council endorses 16 Community Capital Works Partnership Grants, Category 1 applications, to be funded to the value of $320,000, and 11 Community Capital Works Grants, Category 2 applications, to be funded to the value of $163,342.41.
Thank you, Councillor Kowalczyk. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Owen. Councillor Kowalczyk, would you like to speak to this item?
Thank you, Mayor Springfield. Thanks, Councillor Owen, for your second. A total of $491,597 was available in the 2022-23 Community Capital Works Grants program over 3 categories. Category 1, where up to $20,000 was available per project. All works to be carried out would be coordinated by council, with no matched funding asked of that by the community group and no works undertaken by the group. Category 2, where up to $35,000 is available per project. Grant contribution by the community group is based upon a rating scale depending on their overall annual income. And Category 3, up to $20,000 available for groups to purchase major equipment. We had a total of 39 applications, of which 27 are recommended for endorsement by council, and there were 16 from Category 1, 11 from Category 2, and we didn't receive any for Category 3, which is interesting. Grants were firstly assessed against the eligibility criteria. Where an application was ineligible, council officers work with the applicants to assist them to satisfy the eligibility requirements, and where this was not possible, applicants were advised and their application did not progress. I think it's important to highlight that, as applying for grants can be a complicated process, and I thank officers for working with the community groups where possible. And it's something that other councillors have mentioned in the past, that can be a sticking point for some of our community groups, so our officers do a great job in that space. This is a great program that has a significant impact across our community. At the previous council meeting, we approved the Community Wellbeing and Support Grants, as well as the Festival and Events Grants, and this program is similar in terms of the benefit to community that it provides. Often, as councillors, when we're out in the community, you see the benefits of our grants programs at local clubs and community groups and the value that it can bring to our residents. Just recently, I was at the Hollands Children's Centre to check out a pergola that had been built as a result of prior year's Community Capital Works grants that provide shade to children playing outside. So I think it's a fantastic program with real-world, practical outcomes. The Community Capital Works grants projects will assist successful community groups to upgrade community and recreational facilities that are used to strengthen local community networks and support community wellbeing. I'll leave it there for now. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kowalczyk. I'll now go to the seconder, Councillor Owen, to speak to this item.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Kowalczyk. I fully support these grants. Obviously, Council is aware of the successful ones. Those will be notified in the coming days. And I understand there will be a grants evening that Council will organise where the amazing work by these groups are celebrated and recognised by Council. There's some familiar faces or groups in the successful grant recipients, so I thank everyone who applied. As Councillor Kowalczyk did say, it is a process and it can be challenging for our volunteers, but I'm really pleased that Council's improving its assistance, engagement with these groups to make it easier for them to apply for these grants to improve our community facilities. So we're going to see these grants awarded to recreation reserves, sporting groups, community groups, also kindergartens. So thank you, and I look forward to that grants night and those people being notified of their success. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. Would any other councillors like to speak to this item? Councillor Ross.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Kowalczyk and Councillor Owen for raising this issue. I must say this is a really, really good program, and people who don't realise the impact that this has had on our Shire probably don't reflect back on. I know that we've had roughly about $450,000 every year I've been on council for the last 13 years. And for a lot of that time, it was a 50-50 input from the community group or the reserve committee, plus what council put in. And it could be in like kind that they put in the money. And when you go back and have a look at those programs, in most years it's been well subscribed, so it was taken up mostly all of it. So, I mean, if you put that in picture, if we had $450,000 a year and it was 50-50 input over 13 years, you're looking at roughly about $12 million have been put into the community. And this is on projects that these people are really passionate about, that they see needs for, that they're the ones who come to council and say, we've identified a need in our community or our reserve and we would like to take initiative and do something about it. So council partners with them, and we've always had our officers go and meet with the people. It's not very often they don't comply. Sometimes they have to be moved to a different category. I think it is good that this grants program has evolved over time, because where it was 50-50, for some groups that actually didn't have a lot of money, it was really, really tough for them to come up with the money. But this system now, where we have you get up to 5,000, you can put in 10%, council puts in 90, and 30% for between 5 and 15, and 50% for 20,000 and over, has really made it a whole lot more accessible for so many people in the community during times which is going to be tougher. And I know that with reserves committees in decline, because there just isn't as many people around anymore who can spend their time putting in the voluntary hours that a lot of the people in the past did, that, you know, for these people to be able to do something and dedicate their time and raise the money, that's a really, really big thing. And I think anything we can do to assist them to make them feel more part of the system and improving things, and that will keep them more engaged. I do know some councils don't have these capital works grants in this form where they go to the community and the community apply. They give money out to things that they have in their budgetary system. So this isn't done everywhere. So people, we just sometimes take it for granted that we do something like this and it comes up every year, but it isn't everywhere. So I think it's really good. I think it's great that it's evolved, and I think council's taken responsibility to say, you know, when we've got something good, we're going to try and make it move with the community so they can keep accessing it. It's really good too that every year it gets used up, and if the money wasn't quite used up, we'd probably go and have a look at what other capital works things are out there that we have in our system that can be put a little bit of money towards that might be able to make those things happen too, for the same groups who probably couldn't put money towards it. Anyway, I think it's a great program. I looked through all of the different groups, and I encourage any other groups who haven't put their hand up to get involved in this program, that the money's there. We're happy to talk with you, and we want to improve your facilities. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Would any other councillors like to speak to this item? I'll now go back to the mover, Councillor Kowaczyk, to summarise. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor Springfield, and thanks, Councillor Owen and Councillor Ross, for your supportive comments. Following an extensive promotion and assessment process, Council received 39 applications for Community Capital Works grants. Our officers recommend supporting 16 Category 1 applications and 11 Category 2 applications. These grants provide lasting benefits to the community, aligned to our council plan, and helps us achieve outcomes from our livability plan also. The impact these grants have on our community groups cannot be overstated. Should this item be approved tonight, I really look forward to officers sharing the good news and informing local community groups of the outcome of their applications, as well as the upcoming grants tonight. I hope my fellow councillors support this tonight. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kowaczyk. I will now put this to a vote. All councillors in favour, please raise your hands. I declare the item carried. Thank you. Moving along to item 6.2.5, the disbandment of the Langland Hall Committee, Community Asset Committee, withdrawn by Councillor Cameron. Councillor Cameron to move.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that Council resolves to disband the Langland Memorial Hall Community Asset Committee established by the Council on Monday 20th of July 2020 under the provisions of Section 65 of the Local Government Act 2020, and thank the members of the community for their contribution to the community.
Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Moore. Councillor Cameron to speak first.
The Langland Memorial Hall Community Asset Committee has struggled over the past years to attract volunteers and new committee members. The existing committee advised Council that they found the governance and reporting requirements associated with managing the hall very challenging, despite the administrative support provided by Council officers. A special committee meeting was called on the 21st of July 2022, where the current committee determined to resign as the caretakers of the Langland Memorial Hall Committee and hand the hall back to the management of the council. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Councillor Moore, seconder to speak next.
Thank you, Mayor. And I'm happy to second this particular item. I know a lot of these community members of this asset committee personally, and it's just unfortunate to see this happen again. Once more, we lose a wonderful community committee to the demise of the community because of a lot of the paperwork that they have to do these days. It does catch up with these wonderful community people, and I know how difficult it is to operate under these difficult circumstances, particularly with COVID. We've had the last 3 years have been very difficult for some of these committees, and I can understand where the situation would be. But it just it saddens me to think that another committee has gone by the wayside and been left for council to run these particular halls and particular community assets. So that's what saddens me. I just wanted to say officially and personally to thank those people on those committee and past committee of that hall of the years gone by. So anyway, hopefully us as a council we can assist and keep the thing running for the future. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Would any other councillors like to speak to this item? I'll now go back to the mover, Councillor Cameron, to summarise.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Moore. The Langland Memorial Hall Community Asset Committee was appointed by the Council and has the duty to provide a public community centre for the hire of individuals and organisations which will be of benefit and use to the present and future residents of Cardinia Shire, as detailed in their instrument of delegation. The current committee have taken this role on for a significant period of time, some of them in over 40 years. And despite trying to attract new members, the committee has remained the same. At a special committee meeting held on Thursday the 21st of July, only 3 community members, aside from the Asset Committee and council officers, attended the meeting, which was very disappointing, and nobody put their hand up to say, you know, we'll help you out, we'll take it on. So the council officers will work with the committee to transition all aspects of the hall management back to council. So on behalf of council, I would like to thank the outgoing hall committee for their years of dedication, service and financial support to the hall, which was built by the community for the community. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Well said. We'll now put this to a vote. All councillors in favour, please raise your hands. I declare that item carried. Thank you. Moving along to item 6.3.1, amendment to governance rules, virtual meetings, withdrawn by Councillor Radford. Councillor Radford to move.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I move the following recommendation is that Council amend the governance rules as attached to make provision for the conduct of council meetings via electronic means as required by recent amendments to the Local Government Act 2020. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Radford. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Cameron. Councillor Radford to speak first.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Cameron, for your second. Look, this is really just a tick in the box for council, but I thought it was important to withdraw so that our community understood what was happening. During COVID, it was allowed that council could hold meetings virtually, but that time is coming to an end. So we need to make an amendment to our governance rules to allow a hybrid meeting moving forward from September. So that's pretty much all this is. So we have had a discussion on that, and we've come up with some a new note in our governance rules so that members can attend remotely as long as they can hear the proceedings, they can see other members in attendance and can be seen by other members, and they can be heard as in to speak. So councillors must submit a request to the Manager of Governance in writing or verbally by midday of the day of the meeting stating the reason for requesting their electronic attendance. Approval will not unreasonably be withheld, and we can move on from there. So this doesn't need to go to a community consultation, as this is a good practice guideline issued by the Minister. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Radford. I'll now go to the seconder, Councillor Cameron, to speak to this item.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Radford. So the Minister for Local Government has released a good practice guideline relating to virtual meetings, and the recommended amendments to the governance rules are in accordance with this guideline. And as Councillor Radford alluded to, the governance rule does not have to go to community engagement because it's in compliance with the good practice that's issued by the Minister. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Would any other councillors like to speak to this item? I'll now go back to the mover, Councillor Radford, to summarise.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Cameron. Yes, so I think moving forward, this is a good thing. Where there is still COVID, there is still flu, there is sometimes a reason why we can't attend in person. So this gives an opportunity for our councillors to still attend a meeting and have a say on the important issues that we were elected to have a say on. So in conclusion, this is for the council to be able to continue holding virtual council and committee meetings. It is necessary for the governance rules to be amended accordingly, and it is respectfully submitted that the governance rules be amended accordingly. And so I move that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Radford. I will now put this to a vote. All councillors in favour, please raise your hands. I declare the item carried. Thank you. Next item is 6.5.2, Community Engagement Update, withdrawn by Councillor Radford. Councillor Radford to move.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I'd like to move the officer's recommendation, which is that Council notes the community engagement activities being undertaken this month.
Thank you, Councillor Radford. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Kowaczyk. Councillor Radford to speak to this item first.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Kowaczyk, for your second. Again, this is just so I could highlight to the public what Council is doing in regards to community engagement. And it's really important that our community get involved with this community engagement and give their feedback and have their say, because it does influence our decisions at times and has an impact on what we're deciding what to do. So currently the Emerald Lake Precinct Master Plan is open for consultation. This closes at the end of August. We're midway through August, so still a little bit of time. And the Playgrounds Annual Renewal Program is currently open. There are 3 playgrounds that are scheduled for upgrades as part of the annual program. So please have a look at the Creating Cardinia website and have your say on these, as that may, especially a playground, may directly influence what you want to see and what you want your kids to play on. This closes on the 28th of August. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Radford. I'll now go to the seconder, Councillor Kowaczyk, to speak.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks, Councillor Radford, for speaking to this item and for moving this item. I mostly seconded this for the purpose of discussion, but I do think it's important. I believe community engagement is underutilised, and I would like to see more community engagement. I think we have these open for a period of time, and sometimes the responses that we get back, the number of responses that we get back, aren't a great deal. And I know people are busy, I know people have a lot to do, but often the feedback will come later after that period of time has shut, and it makes it pretty difficult. So I would like to see people get involved, and I think it's a worthwhile thing that Councillor Radford has raised this community engagement activity report. Regarding the things that are open at the moment, the Emerald Lake Precinct Master Plan is obviously a huge draw within Cardinia Shire. It's a huge tourist attraction, and I think it would be worthwhile for everyone, particularly in that area, but also those who visit that precinct up at Emerald Lake, beautiful part of the world, to have a say on that. And the playgrounds, the annual renewal program, as a father of 2 young boys, I'm at a playground every second day, and so I absolutely know what it's like to have a rundown playground and the difference it can make when new playgrounds come on board. So I would just encourage our local community to get involved, get on the Creating Cardinia website, and give us your feedback. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kowaczyk. Would any other councillors like to speak to this item? There being none, I'll go back to the mover, Councillor Radford, to summarise.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Kowaczyk. I don't know if they make swings big enough for you at the playground, but I'm sure you have a go. Yes, we have community engagement. I think Council's doing a great job at doing more of that and trying to engage with our community. So please look on the Creating Cardinia website and have your say, because we really do want to hear from you. So I'd just like to move the officer's recommendation that we note this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Radford. I'll now put this to a vote. Councillors, all those in favour, please raise your hands. I declare the item carried. Thank you. Moving along to item 6.4.2, a quarterly performance and growth report, withdrawn by Councillor Radford. Councillor Radford to move.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to move the officer's recommendation, which is the performance and growth reports for quarter 4, 2021 to 2022 be received and noted.
Thank you, Councillor Radford. Can I have a seconder, please, councillors? Councillor Moore. I'll go to Councillor Radford to speak to this item first.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Moore. I think it's important again that the public understand that, you know, we're assessing things, and it's good to acknowledge this quarterly performance report and to see where we're at on a number of things. So the new council plan 2021-25 was adopted at the council meeting in June 2021, and this is the first reporting year for the new council plan. The council plan is structured around 5 strategic objectives that underpin the overarching strategic direction for the next 4 years. Under each strategic objective, there's a lot of is a series of strategies, initiatives and indicators. Council committed to undertake work on 36 council plan initiatives during the 2021-2022 financial year, and the organisation has completed 33 initiatives, achieving 92% of the council plan. So that's great news. So 82% of incoming service requests across the organisation were actioned and closed within our service standard. While this is below our target of 90%, it is important to note that, like many industries, we've had to manage staffing difficulties during this time, and so I think that that's a pretty good achievement. The service levels achieved for unsealed roads and related requests and drainage related requests this quarter were 75% and 59% respectively. Again, these results are below our 90% target, but it has been our highest level in the last 3 years, and again, our maintenance team has had issues with staffing and COVID. The percentage of calls answered within 300 seconds by the customer support team was 39% for the quarter. This, unfortunately, has been a decline from the last quarter and again has been heavily impacted by COVID, unplanned leave and staff turnover, and that'll be something that'll be worked on in the next quarter. It's important to note too that our population growth within the Shire has been stable, with 4 households continuing to move into our Shire per day. An advocacy package has been prepared also. Our Mayor and CEO are actively advocating with the state election coming up, and this is so our advocacy package is used to lobby all of our local members of Parliament and candidates into the lead up to this state election. So that's good news. And there was something else that I had. This was interesting. There were 469 births in the Shire this quarter, 6% higher than the same time last year, just showing that we're continually growing and we're continually active. And enrolments in MCH centres are 6% higher than the same time last year. That's all for now.
Thank you, Councillor Radford. I'll now go to the seconder, Councillor Moore, to speak.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Radford, for your report on this very important report. Yes, you've got to stay active to be attractive in this township, I can tell you. So I think we're very attractive here, I can tell you. I really haven't got anything to add. Councillor Radford has covered just about all the points on this very important report, so I'll leave it at that, Councillor Radford. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Would any other councillors like to speak to this item? There being none, I will go back to the mover to summarise. Councillor Radford.
Thank you, Councillor Moore, for your comments there. So as I said, I withdrew this for community's interest and information, and look, there's more within this report, and it's all online on the meeting agenda, so please take some time to have a read over it. So basically this is the final quarterly report for the 2021-2022 year, and Council committed to undertake work on 36 council plan initiatives during this period, which of 33 initiatives were completed. So I'd just like to move the officer's recommendation that we note this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Radford. Councillors, I'll now put this to a vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. I declare the item carried. Thank you. That concludes discussion of the items withdrawn. Are there any matters listed in the agenda that any councillors may also wish to debate? If not, can I please have a mover to adopt the officer's recommendations for the remaining items? Councillor Moore, and seconded by Councillor Cameron. Councillors, all those in favour, please raise your hand. I declare that carried. Thank you. Councillor Reports. Councillors, are there any matters that you wish to report? Councillor Owen.
Thanks, Mayor. Just wanted to acknowledge the passing of a real gentleman Mr. Jeff Lampriere. His funeral was on the 5th of August. He was really a true gentleman. He was greatly loved and respected community member. He was obviously the husband of former Mayor Kate Lampriere, a strong supporter of Kate during her time on council. His community service includes past president of the Apex Club in Hamilton, locally in Pakenham. His efforts at the Rotary Club of Pakenham, 42 years of service, the Paul Harris Fellow Award recipient. He was also part of the Bunyip Garfield Rotary as well. Chamber of Commerce when Pakenham had one, the Pakenham Community Chest Trust Fund, and the Pakenham Support Group of Windermere and Family Services. So I just want to acknowledge and our thoughts and love are with Kate and his family. I appreciate there was a number of councillors and the CO in attendance at the service. On the 22nd of July, I had the great pleasure of representing the Mayor and conducting the official opening of the John Dudley Portrait Prize at the Hills Hub in Emerald. It was a really great evening. There was 10 finalists and the winner was Janine Good, who's a local. Her portrait was of Damien Kingsbury, Professor Damien Kingsbury. But it was just fantastic to see the Hills Hub bustling and being used for what it was designed and built for, which includes the arts. It was really, really great. And I believe the 10 finalists are going to be exhibited at the Cultural Centre soon as well. So that was really good. It was great to see John Dudley's son there, Nick Dudley. He was there and he's financially contributing to the prize each year, which is fantastic, in honour of his father, John Dudley. I attended the Huxtable Road Reserve AGM, and there we saw 2 long-term committee members retire. That's Peter Van Diemen and also his wife Helen. Peter served 35 years on the committee and Helen 20 years, so that's a combined husband and wife team of 55 years of service to the committee. So I just want to acknowledge that great service by those 2 people. Thank you very much. It was great to see that their positions was filled in the committee. It was really great, after following the comments. It is challenging to get committee members, so it was great that the Huxtable Road Reserve Committee of Management elected their new committee. I attended the Casey Cardinia Local History Reference Group. That's a really great meeting. It's a great opportunity for Casey and Cardinia heritage groups to discuss their activities. So we heard from the Berwick Pakenham Historical Society. They're getting prepared for the launch of the Pakenham Then and Now pictorial book, which was written by Audrey Dodson. It's a fantastic book, great photos of then and now, and that's going to be officially launched on the 21st of August. Also, Graham Legg, a former councillor, he's launching a book in Emerald regarding his 70 years in scouting. So he's going to launch that next month, I believe. But we heard from the Bunyip Historical Society, the Beaconsfield Historical Society, the Emerald Museum, Kirrirup. And it's just really great to just support that group regarding our heritage. Just a couple more. I attended a meeting of the Friends of Cardinia Creek Sanctuary, and they're a great group of people that look after the Beaconsfield Flora and Fauna Reserve and along the Cardinia Creek on both sides of Casey Cardinia in Beaconsfield/Berwick. But they are really wanting to see new members join the group, so there'll be another meeting in September to really drum up support, drum up a committee, drum up some key roles there. So definitely council was supporting that group in trying to encourage a new committee to be elected. It's a great group. And finally, on Sunday, I had the pleasure of attending the 80th birthday of Mr. Rob Porter. He is an absolute legend, Rob, and it was great to be there to celebrate his life. Well done, Carol, for organising it, and family. But we just heard great stories. He's 50 years on the Rec Reserve Committee of Management. Mostly president. His time as president of the Officer and District Association, local coach in the sporting clubs, and it was a really great. It was like an officer reunion, being an ex-officer boy, seeing many Many past and present officer residents, many have moved on as development has seen their properties get developed into houses, but it was really great to see so many older and familiar faces of officer. So happy birthday, Rob. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. Any other councillors have matters they wish to report? Councillor Radford.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to highlight one thing that I attended this month, which was to see Jim Owen, a comedian, at the Cardinia Cultural Centre. This was on the 30th of July. It was a one show only. It's just great to have these shows and this quality of entertainer coming out to Cardinia. It was easy for my husband to duck off for a night out, leave the kids at home, and it was just fantastic. We've never laughed so hard. Jim Owen did say, now don't tell council about his foul language. It does have a warning leading in there, but I'm going to dob you in, Jim Owen. He had foul language, but it was funny, used appropriately, and we really enjoyed it. So I just want to say congratulations to whoever's organising these things and people and entertainers to come out, because the Cardinia Cultural Centre has had some amazing shows and entertainers come out, and it's really great for our Shire. So well done to everyone involved with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Radford. Do any other councillors have matters they wish to report? Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Mayor. Could I just reiterate Councillor Owen's reference to Jeff Lompierre, unfortunately has passed away. And I was lucky to have the fortunate to know Jeff very, very well as being a Rotarian at the Pakenham Rotary Club and, of course, at the Bunyip Garfield Rotary Club also with his lovely wife, Kate. And it's just sad to see such a gentleman, a giant of a man with a gentle heart was Jeff, and so we're going to miss him in the community. And he had a very, very good business in Pakenham and very well liked man, Jeff. So it was just sad to see him go. But I was at the funeral with Councillor Owen, and Councillor Ross was there also. I'd like to mention a couple others, local people that passed away recently, though, at the same time, which was just right at the same time. A man by the name of Clem Kelsey, who is husband to Jean Kelsey, who very well known at the CFA in Pakenham, used to work at the local Mitre 10 hardware store for many, many years at Hardy's, and been involved with the running track kids at the CFA, and of course a lot to do with the Pakenham Football Club and the Pakenham netball people, and also Val Parker. Val Parker's very well known at the football club. Ran the canteen for 100 years, I'm sure, with a wonderful husband, Thom Parker. They were institutional at the footy club. If you went to the game, no matter what time of the day, no matter where you were, you would see Val and Thom Parker there working way behind that canteen continual. So I just want to pay tribute to those particular community people. We're talking about community committees before. Well, these are the backbone of our community, and it's just sad to see these people disappear. But anyway, I thought I'd just mention those people. Anyway, I did go to the 80th anniversary of the CFA Bunyip celebration. 80 years of celebrations is such a fantastic time to have, and they were there in full flight at the Gumby World Convention Centre, which is really great to go to. They had all their awards there, and they had some speakers talking about the history of the CFA in Bunyip and where it came from and what it is today. And we look at these volunteers we talk about today. Where would we be without the CFA volunteers, I ask you, and they're dwindling as they go. So they're after members all over the place, no matter what. So it's one thing to go and support them as where we can. That was the other night, and what's on at the Cultural Centre at the moment is what they call the emerging from the fires. What a great thing to go and see. If you get the opportunity to go and visit this art show at the Cultural Centre, it's very, very worthwhile going to see. It's quite emotional, as the CEO went the other day, and I felt the same way, where you revisit those days back in the 2019 Bunyip complex fire, which was devastating to that community. But what goes hand in hand with that is the thing that is on at the 28th of August, which is called the Creative Recovery Project, which is an art launch at the, there's an advert, by the way, Mr Mayor, on the 28th of August, it hasn't happened yet, just starting at the Cannibal Creek Reserve. There's two artists really involved in this, which is Janine Good, a local, and Sue Jarvis has got some artwork there, which is we're going to open this launch of this this art launch. So it starts at 1:30 at the Cannibal Creek Reserve on Garfield North Road. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Are there any other councillors that have items they wish to report? Councillor Ross.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to echo some of the sentiments from some of the councillors here in relation to going to Jeff Limprier's funeral. I had the opportunity to sit next to Kate for a year on her last term on council, and she shared every week. I'd sort of ask how Jeff's going along, and she shared with me at the time that he was going through multiple different cancers, and I think she shared, as she emceed under his request, his own funeral, that he'd gone through 7 different cancers over a 10-year period, and he beat 6 of them. Number 7 was the one that eventually got him. I must say, Jeff was an amazing gentleman who worked with Kate in such a way that I think it was a God-given thing that they could work so well together. I had a chat to Derek Madden, who came down from Moorabool Shire, who's the CEO up there, and he shared with me just how instrumental Jeff was in the partnership between Kate and working on council, and the fact that they worked together so well, and if they all needed to have a conversation at the time, the backbone was there always. Jeff would come along and they'd all have a great conversation, and they'd work through different issues that they would have. I must say, Jeff was an amazing guy. He was always there to support Kate, which brought some colour to council. And Kate was always really challenging, and Jeff was always there behind her to support her, to encourage her to continue on. So I know that Kate thanked him immensely. The people of Cardinia Shire should be thanking Jeff as well, because he really added so much in the background that most people didn't know. And I must say, when I go to funerals, I often find out 90% of what I didn't know about somebody, which was quite amazing, and Jeff was, as Councillor Moore pointed out, someone who'd done an immense amount of work inside our community that a lot of people wouldn't know, because he was such a quiet guy who just was behind the scenes doing the hard work and supporting many things. As well as that, I attended with some of the other councillors the Cardinia Farmers Evening. I must say, I thought it was really good that out of our 9 councils, and I know we all can't attend everything, but I think there were 6 out of 9 of us there. And I think that just speaks volumes to community groups, because I know when Casey was up and running, there were even nights when we organised dinners with them where not even one of them was going to turn up, which was really sad. But I know on our council we do support the community in a really big way. And to think that 6 of the 9 councillors were able to make it that evening on a Friday night to come along showed the farmers that we are really committed to wanting to help them and support them. And I know when I first got on council, we showed our money where our mouth was, where council spent over $400,000 getting the undergrounding of the power lines through the farming areas down south, where it was muted at the time that they were going to be above ground power lines coming from the D-cell plant, coming through Cardinia Shire, which would have just devastated a lot of their farms, because the easements would have been so big on their farms that they wouldn't have been able to do many things. And back then, we did it so respectfully. We convinced one by one different parties and different people that you could do it underground. There was a feasibility plan there, and we got an amazing result that was supported by the farmers to allow them to keep using their land as it was. So we are committed. Cardinia Shire, for those who don't realise, and I know everyone at this table realise, but anyone watching, we're 8% interface council. We're 92% green, wedge and farming areas. So therefore, we need to be committed to the Bunyip food belt, and our food projects, and farming is a really, really important part of our history, and will continue to be as long as the green wedge stays in place. Anyway, I thought that was excellent that we went along and we showed our support to them, and they know that we're there for them as much as we can be. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Just a couple of things. I'd like to send my condolences to Kate and her family. It's a great, sad loss of Jeff, a wonderful person. I was lucky enough to have some conversations with Jeff, and he was always a very polite and a very relaxed, chilled out person. So, you know, it was always nice to be around him. And and as a celebrant, you know, you do learn something new about someone every day. When you do conduct funerals, you have many people come up and say, I didn't know that about the person. So that's something that celebrants can bring to the families and friends. On the 11th, I went to the farmers' dinner with Councillor Kowaczyk, Councillor Moore, Ross and Springfield, Councillor Cameron and myself. And Simon O'Donnell, well, what an interesting man he was. He bolted out the door after he'd finished his presentation, so he didn't want to be chased by the council, he said. So he made a few comments about the council on the night, didn't he? He talked about his St Kilda days and playing for St Kilda, and they weren't over exciting. I think he just got hit in the face a couple of times and got up and moved on to cricket, didn't he? And so then he talked about his cricket days and some of the exciting things that happened over the years that he played cricket. And he's also a farmer, a beef farmer, so he talked a little bit about that and how important it is to encourage the products that our local farmers had on the night. And there was quite a few products there that was very interesting, and it was great talking to the farmers in reference to how they see things and what they would like to contribute to council in and over the years, participating as much as they can for education with our youth and having an understanding of what farming is all about. And they talked about hopefully not losing too much of their farmlands, because once you lose it, you can't get it back, was one comment from a farmer. And they also had conversations about climate change, rates, roads, services, planning, the usual thing, but it gave them the opportunity to speak with each and every councillor that was there. And as councillors, we were showing them that we took the time and the interest of what they're about. And they're such an important identity, and we don't acknowledge them enough. And we also I talked later on in reference to mental health and how it's affected them with COVID. And it was really great to have them open up and talk about the difficulties it's had on their life as well. And but yes, with Simon O'Donnell, yes, he kept saying to the farmers, look out, the councils will, once I've finished my presentation, the councillors will be chasing you. So he kind of had this, I think people had this vision we're going to run around the room and lock the doors or whatever, but it was an interesting night, so I really enjoyed it. So thank you to the other councillors being there, and I hope you all enjoyed it like I did. So that's all I've got to add tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan.
He did swear a lot.
Are there any other councillors like to? And Councillor Kowaczyk.
Thanks, Mayor. It's been good to hear all the councillors' updates, some quite emotional and heartfelt, so thanks, my fellow councillors, for your updates. I just want to touch on a couple of things. The Court Advisory Group had a recognition dinner earlier in the month where we presented our community champions with some awards. For those of you who don't know, throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, which is still going on, some of our called groups in Cardinia were more adversely affected, and we had some community champions step up to give vaccination advice and to provide assistance to their communities above and beyond what they would normally do. So some absolute superstars in that group, and they continue their work with us. So thank you so much to those members who were awarded on the night. Yes, the Farmers' Night. Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Was a fantastic night. Also attended a Deb Ball. It was my first Deb Ball, as I didn't do my Deb when I was in school. Hosted by Southeast Presentations. That was quite nice. I know other councillors have had the opportunity to do that. Had a nice meeting with the Rotary Club of Pakenham. I want to thank Terry Williams, Ian Wake and George Blenkhorn. Those names are familiar to councillors and to the community for the invitation. Very nice to have the opportunity to meet you all. And lastly, I do just want to mention Val Parker, someone who I knew, and I will be brief as I know other councillors have touched on this. I just want to read this from the Gazette article that her family contributed after her passing. As you may know, she loved Thom, who is a friend of mine, and I caught up with him on the weekend. As you may know, she loved Thom and really enjoyed spending time with him, which was lucky as they had been together for over 70 years. She developed a love of football when Michael started playing, and to her delight, all 5 of her boys played football at Pakenham, as well as grandsons Luke and Nick. I played football with her grandsons. Nan became involved, this is the family writing, not only as a spectator, but also as a volunteer, where she spent countless hours in the canteen each and every home game for 45 years. Val was awarded a life membership for service to the Pakenham Football Club, an honour which she was so proud to have accepted. And this is how I knew Val. She was known for her loud cheering, constant advice to players whether they wanted it or not, and her tireless work ethic. So yeah, I know other councillors have touched on that, but just wanted to say Val Parker should be missed. And our love to Tommy Parker. I caught up with Tommy and obviously he's doing it a bit rough at the moment, so if you see Mr. Tommy in the street, get around him and support him. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Councillor Kowaczyk. Thank you. Would any other councillors have any matters they wish to report on? There being none, thank you, councillors, for sharing everything you have with us tonight. Moving along, next on the agenda is presentations of petitions. Are there any petitions, councillors, that you'd like to present? There being none, we'll move along to community question time. We have received several questions from the public. Firstly, we have a question from Emily Stowe. Unfortunately, Emily cannot be with us this evening, so we will include Emily's question and the response by the General Manager, Customer, People and Performance, Jenny Cicluna, in the minutes of the meeting. In addition, we've received some questions from residents of Tresize Court and Lang Lang, all referring to the planning scheme amendment for 11 Thom Road, which was considered earlier in the evening as item 6.1.1. These questions have been advised that these questionnaires have been advised that their questions will not be read and answered at the meeting this evening, but as with all submissions received regarding Amendment C262, and as required by Section 23 of the Planning and Environment Act 1987, they will be referred to an independent planning panel to be appointed by the Minister for Planning for consideration. That concludes tonight's meeting. So thank you all for your interest and attendance, and I now declare the meeting closed. Thank you.